Now on to a controversy surrounding Will Smith. He's opening a private school near Malibu, but some say the school has a connection to the Church of Scientology. Will Smith's hoping for a blockbuster weekend for his new movie Hancock, but behind the scenes, he and wife Jada are at the center of a Hollywood firestorm. Will and Jada are laying out $900,000 to open their own private school for their two youngest children, Jaden and Willow, and at least 40 other kids in this former school building outside Malibu. It's what children will be taught here when it opens in September that's raising eyebrows.
This is really a Scientology school being marketed to the Hollywood elite.
Carnegie Mellon University professor David Turetsky, a critic of Scientology, says Will Smith's school is actually teaching the controversial religion.
It's covert instruction in the Scientology religion. It's full of Scientology jargon.
The school, known as the New Village Academy, admits using a teaching method called study technology, invented by Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. These school textbooks with titles like Basic Study Manual are based on the writings of L. Ron Hubbard.
This is pure Scientology. It is the Scientology religion distilled down for children.
Will Smith and Jada say they're not Scientologists, although Will and leading Scientologist Tom Cruise are close friends. Tom's adopted son, Connor, even plays a young Will Smith in an upcoming movie. The school acknowledges some teachers are Scientologists, but say they won't be teaching Scientology. The school principal told the LA Times, "We are a secular school. Staff do not promote their own religions at school or pass on the beliefs of their particular faith to children." What should Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith do?
I think Will Smith should come clean. It's a Scientology school. Will Smith just needs to be honest about what's going on.
So what's David Icke doing on TV?
We have a lot of different producers. You just get tired of the real meat and potatoes, the real issues. So he's gone for all the ridiculous Hollywood stuff of David Icke and the blood-drinking lizard people. So what does David Icke do? He talks about the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, these global elitists, these power structures, all real, all true, all demonstrated by bills and executive orders and prime ministers and premiers and presidents. All real meat and potatoes, something you can bite into, something that is easily demonstratable. And then you've got David Icke at the end of all this. He says, by the way, they're blood-drinking lizards. Blood, Al Gore needs blood to drink. So does Prince Philip. I mean, it's asinine. And it's being picked up by people, and so it discredits all the reality people are talking about. And that's the problem with David Icke. He's got a good line to a point, and then he discredits it all. It's like a turd in the punch bowl. That's his job. He's got this nice big thing, this nice fruit punch, nice ice cubes floating around in it, and then he takes a big dump right in the middle of it, and no one's going to drink out of that punch bowl.
But is he in league with them to do that?
I think he knows what he has to do in a controlled world to get away with what he's doing and be given attention. And he's either a smart opportunist con man, or he's completely insane, or he's working for them directly. But I tend to think he's just a con man who understands how things works and is just a real opportunist.
So now we get into an example of mass mind control. I meant to write an article about this, but I've just been too busy lately. H.G. Wells, we have his book. You can read it for free. It's an ebook. On PrisonPlanet.com. He wrote a 1937 book called The New World Order, and he was a futurist for the Crown, a known Fabian socialist, and hooked him with Cecil Rhodes. And he openly, and I have quotes from his book in my book, Descent into Tyranny, and I know that David's talked about him, he openly says, we are the world government, we're going to take control of you, weed and grow society, kind of like the Morlocks did the Eloy in his other book, The Time Machine. But this was nonfiction called The New World Order. And he said there's all these gallant people that love humanity and freedom. We're going to have to kill them. And but so he wrote War of the Worlds, which then with Orson Welles, and I heard them admit, I own an old classic radio interview set of just hundreds of interviews that I bought, and it's got a KTSA, the big San Antonio station interview from like 1939. I mean, it's just really old, with H.G. Wells and Orson Welles, and they basically are admitting how this was a test. And so Orson Welles comes out and does his War of the Worlds, and it causes mass panic. That was a test of mind control. a test, even with some fake alien threat, people thought it was real. And now they have fake newscasts all over TV, like Oil Storm and these shows on Nightline where they say terrorists have attacked, and then at the very end say this was just an exercise, but they use real video of real riots. They're bathing us. But I went and saw War of the Worlds, the new one, that the Spielberg put together, and the whole thing's 9/11. It's in New York. There's dust all over his face after, the aliens are killing people. There's pictures of all the lost people on the walls. There's images of jets crashing and their engines. There's all this 9/11 imagery, and then the military saves everybody at the end, and young men are fighting, wanting to join the military. It's so good to want to join the military. You're compelled to join the military. And it plays off this rebellion of the child against the father. It's a recruiting movie for the war. It superimposes the Arabs are the aliens. The Arabs are going to kill you. And just like Jerry Bruckheimer's coming out with a new 9/11 film, he produced the Private Lynch fable. He literally told the Pentagon how to shoot it and what to do. Folks, it's down to that. David Icke, you worked for the BBC. You're aware of how TV works. Can you elaborate on this?
Well, I saw War of the Worlds, and I read it the same. The thing is, as we saw with the Pearl Harbor movie coming out at an appropriate time, Hollywood
right
speaks
before
to
9/11.
Yeah, Hollywood speaks to us because Hollywood is controlled overwhelmingly by the same force that we're talking about. Why? Because I've been to over 40 countries researching this and what have you over the years, and what do you see as a common theme in countries of endless different languages and cultures? You see the Hollywood movies. It's a wonderful way of globally imposing a belief and a culture and a sense of reality on people. The thing about, I've said earlier that I've ordered a new supply of sick bags, and watching the BBC, I think I may have to reorder again because it is totally sickening. The other night on a program called Newsnight, I actually worked on years ago, George Galloway was on, and he was the one voice who was putting in the mainstream media an alternative view, not as alternative as ours, no, but an alternative view of the responsibility for this outrage in London, and his treatment by the interviewer called Gavin Esler was an absolute disgrace. He was treated like he'd planted the bomb almost, with total distaste and lack of dignity.
David, did you know that George Galloway a month ago was on this show?
Yeah, I read that, yeah.
He said, barring the government staging an attack,
yep,
they won't be able to go into Iran. We got Galloway saying that.
Exactly. Well, George Galloway, he's not got the whole picture, but he's got, for a politician, a hell of a great big chunk of the picture, because most politicians are in the same prison as journalists. I've been watching this afternoon, Alex, on the British television, in the Houses of Parliament, Blair making a statement to the politicians and the two opposition party leaders making their reaction. It's just pathetic.
It's like WWF wrestling, as you mentioned, but the example here is within an hour or two of the bombings, they had images of Al-Qaeda training tapes charging you. See, the predator is coming to get you. This is just classic mind control.
Yeah, I had a reader of my website email me and say that because she became aware of this and how they work, when the bombings went off, she listened to the BBC just to time how long it was before Al-Qaeda got a mention after the announcement these were not an electrical surge, these were bombs. And
let me guess, 45 seconds.
It was a tiny time. It was a matter of a few minutes. And you have a situation where the media is as mind-controlled as the population, because what the media does, and has always done...
The government puts out a press release and everybody parrots it.
Yeah, it takes as its point of reality, the point at which it reports the world, whatever the norm is in society. So a few centuries ago, the media would have ridiculed anyone who said the Earth was round, because the norm was that it was flat. Now the norm is, because it's been created, that Al-Qaeda is the problem, and it's as simple as that, like we've been talking about earlier. So every time one of these events happens, the mainstream media, although at the top of the pyramid pyramid, it is controlled and the output dictated. Lower down these pyramids in the media.
They're self-enforcing in their own boxes.
They're self-enforcing, and they're what my friend of mine calls repeaters. They just repeat, and they call it news. What's happened, this is a significant point, because I'm very interested in the media and the way it works, having been in the media for a long time years ago. And what we first of all had, stage one, was the movement from substantial interviews and substantial news reports to what became known as sound bites. So you're bringing the level of debate down from substance to superficiality.
To slogans.
Now what we've got, and this is what you have in America, and this is what we've now got in Britain, is what passes for news is now overwhelmingly the newsreader